Wheelock.
I don't know the name of Ross's
Cleaning
restaurant.
by
but-
Lemcool.
All right, that's enough foolishness. Let's get
All
started.
right, okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Wednesday, August 31st, 2011. It's a little past 7 p.m. We will start the meeting. If you have a cell phone, if you could put it on silent or vibrate, it would be very much appreciated. We will start with the opening ceremonies, which is the invocation and the pledge, and I will call on County Commissioner Rob Henschel to lead us in both, please, if you can stand. Invocation.
Shall we bow? Father in heaven, we ask that you would be with us tonight, that your wisdom would be with us, and in the times to come as we go through budgets, that we would be good stewards of the resources placed in our care. Just be with our country and our leaders that you have placed. Let them lead with wisdom and to always be servants. In thy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will start with the roll call attendance, please.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece?
Present.
Max Bauer?
Here.
Thomas?
Here.
Richardson?
Here.
Lemkool?
Here.
Henschel?
Yes, ma'am.
Gilman?
Here.
Inman?
Here, we have a quorum. Next item is the approval of minutes. We have 3 of them. We'll take them individually if that would be acceptable to the board. First is the closed minutes of June 29th, which are on your desk. If you have, hopefully you had a chance to review those in the envelope. And we would need a motion. All right, who made the motion? Commissioner Richardson. Who made the second? Commissioner Wheelock, to support the June 29th closed session minutes. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. You can bring those forward for the clerk to collect. We now have the June 30th special joint meeting with local municipalities.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the joint meeting minutes of June 30th.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, seconded by Commissioner Henschel.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like a roll call vote on that, please.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the motion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Fleece?
Abstain?
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Inman?
Yes. Okay, just for members of the public, if the commissioner does not attend a meeting, he can abstain from voting on that set of minutes if he was not present. We now have the July 27th regular board meeting minutes. Your packet
Motion
is
to
approved.
approve.
Motion by Commissioner Lemkool, seconded by Commissioner Fleece to approve the July 27th regular board meeting minutes. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. All right, very good. The next item is our first public comment, and we also have an additional public comment towards the latter part of our meeting. Before the clerk reads the rules, I will offer what we generally offer to the public, is that you may speak on any item at the beginning of the meeting. If there's a particular item that is a business item that's on the consent calendar, you have an opportunity, or the board has an opportunity to pull it off, and we would accept public comment during that item as well. So it's your choice. So the clerk will read the rules regarding public comment.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. 1. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. 2. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
Okay, you've heard the rules. Does any member of the public wish to address the Board of Commissioners at this time? Hearing none, we will move on. We will close public comment and move on to the approval of the agenda as presented in our packet. Do we have any additions? Okay, hearing none. Commissioner Fleece.
I would move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Support?
All right, moved by Commissioner Fleece, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, we move on now to special orders of business, and the first one is a public hearing on the proposed issuance of revenue refunding bonds on behalf of the Montessori Children's House. So, Dennis, do we have someone to speak on that, just as a brief
you're gonna address this?
overview? And then we will open up the public hearing.
Gene Dorenzi will address this.
Okay. Just for the members of the public and the viewing audience, if you could just give us a brief description of this item.
Sure. My name is Jean Dorenzi with the Grand Rivers County Planning and Development Department. This is a revenue bond issued by, it's a reissue of a revenue bond for the Children's House, Montessori Children's House. This was originally issued by Garfield Township EDC in 2001 and refinanced in 2006 as Garfield Township no longer has an EDC. They have requested that the county EDC do this reissuing. It does not require the county's full faith and credit. It does not impact our debt limitation, nor does it require any financial reporting for administrative issues either. The EDC has reviewed this, and they're requesting your approval to be able to do this refinancing.
Okay, you've heard a description of the item. We will now open up the official public hearing. Does any member of the public wish to speak on this item? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. We will move to the Board of Commissioners. We have a resolution to approve the EDC loan as described in the public hearing.
Move for approval.
All right, moved by
Support.
Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock to approve the resolution as presented in your packet on the EDC loan for the Montessori Children's House. Is there discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Maxbauer?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Richardson?
Yes.
Limkul?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes, motion passes. The second item under special order of business is another public hearing for the Cherry Republic Center. And do we have someone to speak as a quick overview on that? Gene?
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Should I?
Yes, please.
Get yourself introduced.
I'll get myself introduced. My name is Thomas Darga. I'm representing our firm for development, Darga Works, Inc., and Cherry Republic Center.
And again, my name is Jean Dorenzi with the Planning and Development Department. This brownfield plan is proposed for the redevelopment of properties located at 156 East Front Street and 116 Cass Street. The proposed redevelopment is into a mixed-use development. For the first two floors would be a retail and office component. The office component would be housing the Cherry Republic's administrative offices. The retail component would also include a production facility for the public to be able to watch the making of cherry salsa, jams, and jellies. And there, on the top two floors would be a residential component with underground parking in part of this overall redevelopment. This is a brownfield facility. It does qualify as a brownfield facility. As in your packet, there are DEQ eligible activities that are involved in this. There would be a $14 million private investment made, over 20 new jobs created, and significant increase in property tax value as well. The Brownfield Authority reviewed the Brownfield Plan at their July 27th meeting and recommended approval. The City Commission concurred with this Brownfield Plan at their July 15th meeting, and the Brownfield Authority is now before you asking for your approval of the Brownfield Plan to allow the redevelopment to occur.
Okay, thank you for that overview. Okay, I will now open up the public hearing for the Cherry Republic Center. Does any member of the public wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing, and the second item under that issue is a resolution in your packet, a resolution to approve for Cherry Republic Center Brownfield Plan.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the Cherry Republic Center Brownfield Plan as outlined in the packet.
Okay.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, seconded by Commissioner Thomas to approve the resolution on your packet, approval for Cherry Republic Center Brownfield Plan. Is there discussion? Commissioner Gilman.
I will not be supporting this as it uses tax dollars to advance a private business, and the 20 jobs does equate, at the total cost of tax dollars, does equate to $150,000 per job. Just don't agree with that.
All right. Any other items? Commissioner Richardson.
I will not be supporting this, mostly because, and I've been following this project closely for some 4 months or so now, since it first came up last spring. And other than the small amount of money to clean up the piece of ground that they want to build this building on, I've had a very hard time finding what exactly the public's interest is in all of this, why the state of Michigan is willing to give this project $4 million in, or almost $4 million in tax credits and tax abatements over the next 20 years. In the process, we're going to tear down 3 buildings which are occupied, have businesses, have employees, to replace it with this. And that's fine if that's what if that's what the best use of the land is, that's fine, but again, I don't understand why the public is involved to this extent, so I will not be supporting it.
All right. Any other comments on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Richardson?
No?
Lemkool?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Gilman?
No.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece?
Yes.
Maxbauer?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes. All right, motion passes with 2 nays. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. We will move on to the third item under special order of business, and we want to thank representatives from the Travis Area District Library. They're here for a presentation, and if you could come up, whoever wishes to come up, and
You can bring up more chairs, Meta, if you like.
if you do bring up more chairs, if people wish to speak, if you could bring the microphone close to where you're speaking, that would be good to pick up. So if you could state your name and your organization, that would be great.
All right. I'm Betta Lansdale. I'm the director of the Traverse Area District Library. And we're here today to invite you to an ice cream social on Saturday, September the 17th from 1 to 3 at the lovely little East Bay Branch Library at the corner of 3rd and Hammond. We're asking you to do this because we are currently recognizing 20 full years of service, library service from that location. And we're also thanking the East Bay Township Council members, past and present, starting with Jack Cooper, who approached Mike McGill 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, to establish library services in that location. This building, this library service is really the little engine that could. For 20 years, we've been offering full-fledged library service, which includes public computer access, free wireless access, a sound lending collection, story times for hundreds of children. Rosie here, Miss Rosie, is our premier storyteller, and she gathers them up each year at the end of the school year and talks to them about summer reading. and gets them over to the East Bay branch. Very impressive service there. And interestingly, people have discovered this as a very convenient location to drop off and borrow books that have been delivered for them through our delivery service. This library manages 30 to 35 bags per week of books that come in for pickup and delivery at that location. All of these library services are the same that are provided in all 6 library facilities that comprise Tattle, Traverse Area District Library. And this is, the objective of this, of course, is to foster literacy and encourage the use of excellent free library resources. To this end, the same as are available in every one of our 6 facilities. Information requests have been answered over the last year in 150% increase over the year before. 100% increase in utilization of programming at that facility, and 32% increase in computer usage. So, and also, not in conclusion at all, Rosie Flickinger has been with the library serving in that location for 15 years, and Julie Kelly. These two serve as co-branch managers. Julie Kelly was the one that unpacked the books and set it up 20 years ago, and they have been cooking with gas out there for 20 solid years. In conclusion, then, I will again ask you to come out and take a look at this lovely facility across the street from Rob's store, and join us as we have a little party and celebrate in recognition of the tremendous gift that was given to the community by the East Bay Township Council, past and present. So, if you have any questions?
Does any of the other members wish to speak at this time?
I'll just introduce myself. My name is Rosie Flickinger. I'm a co-manager with Julie Kelly, and we appreciate all of the donations that have come our way, and Roy's Country Store is one of our greatest supporters. Not plugging anyone here. But we hope that you'll come back to our ice cream social, and if you can't make it on Saturday the 17th from 1 to 3, come and visit us anytime. We're open to the public. We're your library. We just have the pleasure of being able to work there.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everybody.
Any questions from the representatives in the library? All right. Thank you for coming this evening.
I
Appreciate
think we
it.
should recognize our liaison to the library.
Bless his heart. Jason comes to every last one of our board meetings.
Good.
He deserves recognition for that. It's not an easy thing to do. So, and I appreciate all your support, Jason.
Well, thank you for that comment. Okay, that concludes item number 3. We will now move on to the reading of the consent calendar, and before we do that, I want to remind the public and the Board of Commissioners that I have a conflict with item number 40, agent of record, recommendation coming in from Ways and Means for Cadillac Insurance Center. Again, I did describe my relationship on the Michigan Association of County Service Corporation Board of Directors with Bob Cooney, our civil counsel, and the working relationship that they have with Cadillac Insurance Company and the financial areas of which they are involved or have been involved in. So Bob recommended, and I concur, that I should not be involved in that issue. So when item number 40 is polled, either by myself or by another commissioner or member of the audience, I will ask Commissioner Fleece, who is the vice chairman of our Board of Commissioners, to chair that section for me as I kind of walk over to the other side. So, all right, so please read the action of the consent calendar, please.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. Receive and file. Number 1, Conservation Resource Alliance minutes of May 19, 2011. Number 2, Area Agency on Aging minutes of June 2, 2011. Number 3, Resource Recovery Council minutes of June 2, 2011. Number 4, Solid Waste Management Planning Committee minutes of June 16, 2011. Number 5, Joint G5 Sewer and Water and Board of Public Works minutes of June 27, 2011. Number 6, Commission on Aging minutes of July 5, 2011. Number 7, Grand Traverse Conservation District minutes of July 11, 2011. Number 8, Sewer and Water Committee minutes of July 14, 2011. Number 9, Michigan Northern Counties Association minutes of July 18, 2011. Number 10, Commission on Aging Finance Committee minutes of July 19, 2011. Number 11, Grand Traverse County Planning Commission minutes of July 19, 2011. Number 12, Commission on Aging Program Committee minutes of July 20, 2011. Number 13, Commission on Aging Community Relations Committee minutes of July 21, 2011. Number 14, Conservation Resource Alliance IT minutes of July 21, 2011. Number 15, Commission on Aging Executive Committee minutes of July 21, 2011. Number 16, Airport Commission minutes of July 26, 2011. Number 17, Conservation Resource Alliance Bottomlands Workforce minutes of July 28, 2011. Number 18, Commission on Aging Board minutes of August 3, 2011. Number 19, Commission on Aging Program minutes of August 17, 2011. Number 20, Commission on Aging Community Relation minutes of August 18, 2011. Number 21, Commission on Aging Endowment Committee minutes of August 18, 2011. Number 22, Commission on Aging Executive Committee minutes of August 18, 2011. Number 23, Commission on Aging Finance Committee minutes of August 16, 2011. Number 24, Resolution Number 135, 2011, Septic Facility Fund Deficit Elimination Plan. Referrals, none. Approvals. Public Health and Safety Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 25, 2012 4D Cooperative Agreement Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Number 26, Healthy Futures Services Agreement Renewal. Number 27, Lease Agreement Kingsley Adolescent Health Center. Number 28, Fiscal Year 2010-2011 Comprehensive Planning, Budget, and Contracting Amendment Number 3. Number 29, Central Tower Removal of Equipment and Analysis. Resource Management and Administration Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 30, Appointment to Solid Waste Planning Committee. Number 31, Climate Action Plan Approval. Number 32, Energy Action Plan Approval. Number 33, Human Resources Job Classification Requests. Number 34, Second Amendment to Resolution 297, 2010, Appointments to Boards and Committees. Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 35, Resolution of Support for the Regionalization of the Revolving Loan Fund. Number 36, County Administrator appointed to Traverse Bay Economic Development Corporation. Number 37, Budget Adjustments. Number 38, Resolution approving redemption of all of the callable outstanding Grand Traverse County Garfield Township Water and Sewer System Improvements Project Bonds Series 2002A prior to maturity. Number 39, resolution approving redemption of all of the callable outstanding Grand Traverse County East Bay Township 2002 Sewer Extension Project Bonds prior to maturity and contract amendment. Number 40, Agent of Record Agreement, Cadillac Insurance Center.
Okay, you have, the clerk has read the consent calendar. For those in the public, the consent calendar is made up of items that are sent to the county under receive and file. Also, we are structured on a committee of the whole system. We meet every Wednesday, well, excuse me, 3 Wednesdays out of the month in the evening, and we take up items and we recommend them to the full Board of Commissioners at the end of the month, and that's what this meeting is it. So these are recommendations coming in from the committee of the whole. So does any member of the public wish to pull any of the items from the consent calendar for further discussion? Hearing none, we will now shift that to the Board of Commissioners. Does any commissioner have an item to pull? Commissioner Max Bauer.
Number 24, please.
Okay. Commissioner Gilman.
Numbers 31 and 40, please.
Number 31 and 40.
32, please.
Okay, hang on.
What number?
32.
So Commissioner Henschel, you wanted number 32?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And,
Okay. Any other commissioner want an item pulled?
appointments to committees, where's that one?
Is that the solid planning committee or?
No.
34?
To boards and committees, yeah.
Item number 34?
Yeah.
Or you want to look at that resolution first?
Put it on my sheet here now. Now I can't find it.
We'll give you a few minutes. Any other commissioner want to pull an item off the consent calendar? Dennis, you have a remark?
I do. I'd like to ask the board to pull item 33 and move it to my item number 4 under administrative reports. It's listed both places.
That was the one I wanted to pull.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
So we're not pulling 34?
No.
Okay.
So that's item number 30. Item 33. Any other items to be pulled? Commissioner Richardson.
I would move for approval of the consent calendar with the exceptions of items 24, 31, 32, 33, and 40.
Okay. Support. All right, moved by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item number 24, 31, 32, 33, and item 40. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Limkul?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Lees?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Inman?
Yes. Okay. Motion passes. We will now move on to, just for the members of the audience, we will take up those items after we get done with the administrator's report. So Dennis, you have the floor. Well, actually, I have the first item, kind of. Under the administrator's report, item number 1, Finance Committee Claims and Accounts, you find a memo from myself to the Board of Commissioners, and I have 2 recommendations at this time. Just to explain, in the past, when the 3 members have been assigned to the Claims and Accounts Committee, otherwise known as the Statutory Finance Committee, when a member isn't able to make it or there's something that goes on that, the chairman historically has had the ability just to call any county commissioner and just say, hey, listen, can you make it up and help us clear claims? But our board rules, Chris did clarify for me, our board rules do indicate that the members of that committee have to be ratified by the board, those 3 members. And I will take the issue of Commissioner Gilman in the last board claims and accounts. I should have took the initiative to call him to make sure he was aware he was on that that date, because there was some switching around between members at the beginning of the year, and I could see where there would be some misunderstanding or whatever. So, any event, Commissioner Max Bauer was in attendance, and I asked her to finish the claims up so 2 commissioners would be available to finish claims. She also reminded me in the board rules that the previous board stuck in that we would also have a chair and a vice chair in the board rules, and I had forgotten about that, to be honest with you, because previous to that, we just selected 3 members. So my first recommendation is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners that Commissioner Henschel be chair of the Finance Committee, Claims and Accounts, and Commissioner Jason Gillen be the vice chairman of the Claims and Accounts, and myself as the third appointee be just an appointed member. So I would ask that that be approved. You can do that now, or if you'd like the second recommendation, you can put them together. Second recommendation is that if there's a member, where I put, in situations where 2 of the 3 Finance Committee Claims and Accounts members are not available for the scheduled Claims and Accounts meeting, I am recommending that the chairman of the board has the authority to appoint any available county commissioners to serve for that scheduled date without the approval or ratification of the Board of Commissioners. So if I could get a motion to approve both those items, I would appreciate it. Commissioner
I would
Fleece?
make that motion
Okay.
on both items.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Fleece, seconded by Commissioner Lemkool to approve those 2 items as I've just explained. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thank you. The second item under Administrator's Report is, Chris brought this to my attention in terms of sequence of order. We should, since Commissioner Maxbauer was there on August 23rd, the board really should ratify that she had the authority to sign the claims and accounts on August 23rd.
Mr. Chairman, I move we ratify the signature.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Gilman, seconded by Commissioner Lemkool, ratify
next
Commissioner
year if we don't,
Maxbauer's
we get
signature
paid?
on claims on August 23rd. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, passes. Okay.
Next item is claims and accounts, and
Yes.
Dean will handle that. You all have a copy.
Congratulations.
Yes, I have provided the August claims. I just wanted to point out under the immediate payment claims, there is on August 12th a negative total for the check run, and that was because a check in the amount of $70,000 that was approved through claims and accounts on August 9th was actually voided in that check run. The total checks after that void check were $51,243.30. I thought that warranted some explanation, but other than that, I'm asking for your approval on claims totaling $19,652,423.25 for the month of August.
Move to approve.
Support?
All right, moved by Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock to approve the claims and accounts as presented. Is there discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Lemkool,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece,
Yes.
Maxbauer,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yep.
Richardson,
Yes.
Inman.
Yes, motion passes. Next item was pulled off the consent calendar, item number 33.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Jen, why don't you come up? And Jen Seaman, our HR Director, will be here to answer questions. Basically, after we made the recommendation to you 2 weeks ago, the chairman came in and sat and talked with us a little bit about it, and we kind of discussed the sequence of events that we had recommended. And you'll recall, we had initially recommended that during the month of September, all the departments who wanted to ask for a job reclassification, that they would come before the county board and make the request, and if the county board authorized it, then we would go through the reclassification. Our purpose for doing that was really to make sure that there was a sincere effort on the part of all the departments, and that there was, the county commission was aware of the requests that were being made, and we felt that putting that extra step in would make sure that, quite honestly, there would be no frivolous requests or requests that were duplicative, and that they would make that request. But after talking with Chairman Inman, I think we agreed. He convinced us that really the appropriate way to handle this would just be for those requests to come to HR and to bring them to you at the end when we're making recommendations. And that if there was some recommendation that was made that the department did not agree with, that they would have the right to come to you as an appeal, and an appeal for you to reconsider. So And our goal here was, we're trying to get this all done by the end of the year, so it could take place in January. And aside from that, that's the only change we're recommending. We're recommending that that motion be amended to go with this process, where they would have through September 23rd to bring the request through to Jen, that they would be then reviewed, and she would make a series of recommendations, in all likelihood in December to you, that anything that you approved in December would be transitioned in a 3-year period, as it was suggested by the board 2 weeks ago. And the only other thing we added is that if this does creates a timing issue for us, which potentially it could if she gets stuck with 100 of these, she has money in her contractual line item that we have not spent as a result of not hiring attorneys this year. We're asking you to allow us to hire a personnel consultant that is familiar with this work, that may be able to assist her if she gets bogged down and can't complete these by the end of the December timeline, so that we get these all done in time and we're ready to go January 1st. So that's the recommended amendment that we'd like you to consider, and we'll answer any questions you have.
Commissioner Lemko.
Yeah, the reason why I pulled it off is because I thought that we also had the decision, or had put in there, that any increases in wages had to come out of their current budget. And I thought that we had put that in there, and I think we need to have that in there, because it has to affect each individual department's budget as well as the overall county's budget, and I really think that has to be in there.
If that's the board's wishes, then we could certainly add that. Let me express my concern with that.
Okay.
I would like you to at least consider leaving the door open to us being able to find the money in another place if a department can't. And let me give you an example. I'll use my department. Not that I'm going to put in a request, but we have 3.5 employees, and we eliminated a half of an employee. Now, if I'm, and eliminated our travel and pretty much eliminated everything else we have in that budget, if I have an employee that deserves, or I believe deserves that, I really have nothing in my budget that I can set aside to replace, to pay for that. And so that may not be important to you, but it would be important to me as a department head that I would have to tell my employee, we used to be able to ask these requests for you, but because I don't have enough money in my budget, I can't bring that to the attention of the board. That would be my only concern, Commissioner.
And I totally understand it, but I also feel it's very important that each department head is responsible for their own individual budgets. And they should be, if they can't find it within their budget, then they can't ask for that request. It's really hard, but during difficult times of budgets, I have a problem with somebody taking it from somebody else's budget or some other place in our budget to take and pay for an increase for somebody else.
Well,
within another program.
I don't mean to be argumentative,
I know.
but the point I'm trying to make here is the sheriff, who has a $12 million budget, can certainly find a few $1,000s if it warrants. But someone who might have, a $50,000 or $100,000 budget may not even have that. And so in effect, what you're doing as a department, and I'm going to use ours as an example, a department that has cut everything possible that there is to cut in order to meet your guidelines of lean budgets is being penalized as a result of their judicious work to cut budgets. That's my only concern.
I'm just saying is that when we talked about it 2 weeks ago,
You're
that
right.
was part of it.
You're absolutely right.
And that was eliminated here, and I would like to see it put back in.
Commissioner Thomas.
But this is for the next budget, and you said you wanted it in this budget.
No, this is for any,
Oh, that isn't what you just said.
well, I'm sorry, it's for any wage increase that comes out of current department budgets.
Commissioner Wheelock.
I understand what you're saying, Herb, but at the same time, I firmly believe that we should be properly compensating our employees for the work they're doing. And those department heads don't have the ability to take the money from somebody else's budget. That comes to us. So in order to find the funding to make that change, it's not that department head's responsibility, that's our responsibility. And we do that through our finance director and our administrator. We will be the ones that ultimately determine whether or not that funding is taking place. I'm really adamant that we need to properly compensate the employees for the services they're providing.
Commissioner Henschel.
Well, I don't disagree with Commissioner Wheelock. I just feel this is the wrong time.
we're looking at laying off up to 15 people next year. So I mean, how many more are we going to cannibalize out of our county employees so that, you know, we can give people, you know, an incentive or a raise or whatever to reevaluate the job. Not only that, we're going to spend, I don't know how much resources evaluating. If you got 100 evaluations, how long is that going to take? And if we have to hire outside help, we're spending more money when we're already laying people off. I agree people need to be compensated for what they do. I just don't feel this is the time.
Any other commissioner comments?
That's
regarding-
my point, exactly.
Yeah. Any other comments before I speak on it? Commissioner Fleece.
I would have to agree with Commissioner Henshaw. I agree with Wheelock saying they ought to be justly compensated for the job they're doing, but when we're talking about eliminating an entire department of custodial staff, 11 people, it's just the wrong time to do that. I think we need to put it back in like Commissioner Lemko is suggesting.
Commissioner, anybody else wish to speak before I call on Commissioner Wheelock? All right, Dennis, and then Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, I just want to make it clear, we have gone through this now for 3 or 4 years, and we have made one decision, and then we've said no, and then we've said yes, and then we said no. I'm hearing two different arguments here. I'm hearing an argument or a position that says, I'm okay with these raises if they find it within their budget. And I'm hearing another argument that says, this is not the time to be doing this when we're laying people off. And I would encourage you, even though we are recommending this, we think it's the right thing to do, but as a board, I would encourage you that if in your heart of hearts you believe this is not the right time, and you may pass this tonight and then turn around in December and say no, please say no tonight.
Right.
Okay, because I do not want to do that to the employees again. You know, I would like you to please look at this as if you say yes tonight, it is a commitment to enact this in December. So those employees, whether they be Commission on Aging or they may be Sheriff's Office or wherever, that they know that when this process starts, it is going to be implemented, because we've done that in the past, and I don't want to do that to the employees.
All right, I have a comment. I agree with, and I understand the issue of, you know, budgetary constraints and economic times, but I agree with Commissioner Wheelock that we've prolonged this thing enough, and I think that with the downgrading for the new commissioners especially, you know, we've continued to have a downward movement in our budgets over the last several years, and there was one year, Sonny, that we actually removed 20-some positions out of the county that were on the books, and we did 10 last year. And what happens is that other people in the department have taken on more responsibility and additional duties to compensate in certain areas of the county other positions. And so they're doing other things they weren't doing, and expectations are higher and responsibilities are higher. And so I think that, you know, we owe it as in terms of a level of fairness to our staff members that they're adequately classified, okay, in terms of what they're doing for their position. Then we got into discussion, as you recall in the committee meeting, that how do we financially do it if it's the right thing to do? And the committee at that point in time agreed that we would have a 3-year bridge, you know, if it meant a financial consideration in terms of the approval. It wouldn't be enacted all in 1 year. I think we've got to be, even though government shrinks and staff members shrink, I think we've got to be the best at what we do. I think in the words of Dennis Aloya a number of years ago, if we have to downsize government, we should not bury our heads in the sand. We should be having appropriate pay for the appropriate people that are doing the appropriate jobs based on what is expected of them. And if their jobs have changed, we owe it to them to consider looking at it. And we should continue to look at new technology. We should continue to have an educated staff and a trained staff to make sure, we're the best, like we always have been. We've always had a reputation in the state for, a model county, and, they always ask what was Grand Traverse County doing, because we were always ahead of the curve. And I still want Grand Traverse County to be considered to be ahead of the curve. And that, if that means that we've got to do something different in our budget to accommodate that, I think we got to do it. And there are some departments, as Dennis indicated, and I'll throw some out, the treasurer's office, the county administrator's office, the accounting's office, the veteran affairs office. We have taken those departments right down to bare bone. If you take one more spot out, you might as well just close the office. They cannot take on any more responsibility, and they've been added. Those responsibilities have been compounded on those people in those positions. And true, there are some jobs that have stayed pretty close to where they have been over the years, and there are some jobs that have dramatically changed. So I think, if you want to think about you as an employee in Grand Traverse County, and your job has changed over the last 3 to 5 years, and you think it's fair to be reclassified, then as an employee working for an employer, then put yourself in their shoes. And I think that, the board is sensitive to the financial part of it, whether it's 3-year bridge or a 5-year bridge or whatever we want to agree to. I think they ought to be at least first adequately classified, and then we jump to the decision about how we pay it over a period of time. But I agree with the recommendation. As I was speaking with Jen and Dennis, I just happened to bring it up, when I walked in, that, it's been our ongoing protocol, as long as I've been on the Board of Commissioners, that, all the classification requests go to the Personnel Director, and then they make the determination whether it's reasonable or not, and they have the expertise, we don't. I mean, if these people come to us and say, I feel my job should be reclassified, what areas of expertise do we have as a board, as I explained to Dennis and Jen, to make that call? I'm here as a policymaker and as a budget decision maker, and we hire people like Dennis and Jen that are professionals in certain areas to make those calls and make those decisions, to make those recommendations to our board. So I rely on their expertise. So, if it's so there, and Herb, I agree. If a department has a supplemental budget that they can pull from, make the recommendation work, I think it's fine. But if they don't, I don't think that should prohibit the process from moving forward. And like Sonny said, if it's the right thing to do, the Board of Commissioners will make some adjustments somewhere along the line to make that happen. So I could see your viewpoint that, we would first look to the department, but if the department doesn't have the money, then, it's just going to be the Board of Commissioners' decision. So I would like to see the recommendation move forward. Commissioner Gilman.
A lot of us are business owners here. We wear many hats, and none of it seems to fit the job description that we thought we had when we started our businesses. And sometimes as a matter of survival, I think in terms of the employees of the county, I think it's more important to have more of them than less of them, with expanded pay based on what they think they're doing. And the problem is when we go into a situation where one particular department determines that, Joe's doing a little bit more of this now, and his job classification should follow in, thus should be at a higher rate. And then another department says, hey, they did that there, I want this here. And it does have an effect across the board. And right now, I think as much as possible, kind of a conservative look forward is probably prudent. We got a lot of good people working the county, and if we we start monkeying it up with positions of envy because somebody has taken on some additional responsibilities, and frankly, I think it's sometimes we have to take on additional responsibilities, particularly in tough times. And we're not out of tough times yet. So,
You have a motion.
Not yet.
No, we don't have a motion.
Well, then you should have one
All
before.
right, I'll call on Commissioner Thomas. Do you have a motion?
I didn't say I wanted to make one. I just asked if you had one.
Do you want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we follow recommendation.
Okay.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock, to approve the recommendation as presented in the write-up dated August 26, 2011, on the recommendation for job reclassification requests. Further discussion on the motion. Commissioner Henschel.
Thank you. My feeling is that the decisions we make today will affect in the future whether we're laying off more people or less people. Yeah, we've laid people off over the last few years, and, next year we might be laying off more. But do you want that number to be bigger or smaller? And based on this decision, Commissioner Gilman really reminded me, gosh, I run a small store with a gas station and hardware, and, it's a retail store, and yet this week I was out driving a front-end loader tractor. Gosh, do I get extra pay for that? No. I tell my employees, everyone has the same job description. It's whatever it takes. You might have hired in here for a clerk, but you end up pumping gas for the handicapped disabled lady that can't get out of her car. It's just part of the job. We do what it takes to make it happen. And I feel like this isn't the right time. If we move forward with this, our reclassifier is going to need to be reclassified because she's going to be taking on a huge workload. And it's going the wrong direction. I certainly, I volunteered for our county's employee recognition committee because I think it's important to recognize people for the good job they do. But I'd rather them have a job.
Okay, Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, I was here in 2003 when we cut 22 jobs out of the 2004 budget. And those are not easy decisions. And we've got a lot of hard decisions coming over the next few months. But I was also here 5 years ago when we had 30-some classifications that people wanted to be reclassified, and we told them, no, we're going to put those on hold and we're going to hire a professional firm to do a Siegel study. 24 months later, we have the study. 3 years later, we haven't implemented one piece of that study. So the fact is, but in between that time, we made commitments, the board made commitments that we were going to implement this study over 3 years. Then we started looking at our budget. We didn't have the money, so we decided not to do that. Then we got into discussions about whether or not the study was even valid. And, at this point, obviously the study's not valid because it's too old to have decent data. But the point is, those 36 people or whatever it was 5 years ago, they were asking for and were due to be at least examined to be whether they were reclassified, still haven't been reclassified. We haven't touched it. I believe that it's very important that we look at what services our employees are providing and what they're being compensated for.
Okay, we have Commissioner Fleece, and then we'll go to Commissioner Richardson. And then Lemko.
I spent a lot of years working for a municipality, and I'm quite familiar with classifications. But the way I was raised and the way I looked at it was it's a golden opportunity for the employee to be allowed to do some extra stuff and to add to their resume. And my whole career, I spent doing that. A lot of times, in fact, most of the time, we never got compensated, but we certainly did learn. I too have a business, and I tell my employees, just like Rob does, it's what you have to do to make it successful, because if we're not successful, you're down the road. And I don't know that the employees, other than maybe their tail feathers, are hurt a little bit by not being reclassified. They're still getting raises. That's more than a lot in the private sector are getting. And they still have some pretty nice benefits, a lot more than some in the private sector have, a whole lot. And I'm not going to support this motion because where do we stop? We lack money, the taxes don't come back like we say, but we do the reclassifications, we give the monetary determination, whatever it is. Now we're short bucks again. So we get out the hatchet, we chop off another department, 11 people out of it. I don't think I want to be part of that, and I won't be part of it.
Okay, Commissioner Richardson.
I mean, there's really two different arguments going on here at the same time. The first argument, and why I will support the motion, is that we need to have some sort of a mechanism to review these things. I mean, we can't just ignore what may or may not be a problem for 5 years or more, on into, forever. I mean, there are going to be mistakes made in the way jobs are classified. There has to be some mechanism to review that and reclassify them. And not necessarily up, some may be reclassified down. The other argument that's going on is that, if we reclassify anyone and give them a little raise, then somebody's got to lose their job. I mean, I don't really see that as a zero-sum game. If we were really in that kind of shape, then we wouldn't have given anybody any raises. And, in the 2.5 years I've been here, we have, consistently given county employees small raises and moved forward. And we haven't really laid very many people off either. And quite frankly, in my opinion, the county is still in pretty good financial shape. I mean, are things tight? Yeah, things are tight. But to say that if we allow reclassification, we're going to open the floodgates and everybody's going to lose their job because we can't afford it. I mean, first of all, I think the differences you're going to see in salary are going to be very small. I can't imagine like somebody suddenly doubling their salary or even getting a 50% raise because of a reclassification. That's just not going to happen.
Okay, Commissioner Lemko? Okay, I have a comment, but I'll go on Commissioner Henschel.
I was just curious, it's been how many years since the reclassifications? 5? 3?
Oh, longer than that.
More than that.
07? Was it?
I had brown hair.
We started Siegel 5 years ago, I want to say, and we collected them for 1.5 years before that, so 6 years.
And how many employees have quit for the stated reason of they didn't get reclassified?
I couldn't tell you that. I couldn't even tell you how many left because they felt they weren't paid fairly. I don't know.
So none documented?
Half the police department.
I don't think it's been that long because the Siegel study was commissioned prior to my being on the board, and that was the year 2006. That report was late, and we never got it until well into, I believe, the fall of 2008.
But you just said it, Commissioner.
Reclassifications before Siegel was commissioned.
Right.
When I came on, which is 2007,
Right.
I recall some reclassifications going on. I'm sure of it.
It had to be the last year.
And then we stopped it because the expectation that the Siegel study was coming out and it was going to have all that in there, see? And of course that never happened. It became late. But I think if you look at the records in at least the first half or the first 3 quarters of 2007, there were some.
Yeah. Commissioner Thomas, and then I guess anybody else, I'll speak. Go ahead.
I made the motion for one reason. We have to have a mechanism for reviewing the jobs. The timing, I think, I agree with the rest of you. I think the timing is not good. But
All right.
Yeah, I'm done.
All set?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I think there's some other things on the table, and that is, one, there has been some representation by the Board of Commissioners and by previous boards of commissioners that, we were going to address this thing one way or another. How we were going to pay for it has always been kind of up in the air. And I think we're just going to have to, that's just a secondary part of this that we'll have to address. But, we got to remember, there are people with positions here in the county that their classification caps them. Is that correct, Dennis? They get capped, and
They still get cost of living raises.
so they would receive cost of living raises,
Yes.
but nothing else.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
But my main concern is sending the wrong message to our people that, we don't care enough to evaluate what they're doing and how their jobs have changed. We have excellent experience in this county. We have great talent. And I don't want to send the wrong message to them that we're unwilling to be open and really honest about, the job that they're doing, and if it's truly changed, then we should be looking at it pretty quick. So that's why I will be voting for this. So any other comments before we go to a vote? Commissioner Henschel.
I would be more concerned about the message you're sending to the taxpayers that we don't care how we're going to pay for this, we're going to make this decision right here and now.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, the motion on the floor is to approve the recommendation for job reclassification memorandum dated August 26th on your desk. That means that the department head, judges, elected officials would be responsible for filling out new job analysis questionnaires, submitting it to Human Resources by Friday, September 23rd, 2011, implementation by January 2012. Any wage increase or decrease would be implemented over a 3-year period starting January 1, 2012. Human Resources would evaluate the position using our current point factor system and bring the recommendation to the board for approval in December 2011. Given the tight time frame in which these reclassification requests need to be completed, should the Human Resources Director have the need to seek additional assistance, the Director would have the ability to use an external human resource professional to assist her or her department with the review of these items. Okay, that is the motion on the floor. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Henschel,
No.
Gilman,
No.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Fleece,
No.
Max Bauer,
No.
Thomas,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Lemkool,
No.
Inman.
Yes. Motion fails, 6-4.
4-5.
Yeah, 5-4. So there's 4 yeses and 5 noes. So
Mr.
motion
Chairman?
does fail. Yes.
I'd like to ask the board if they would to take some definitive action based on your feelings on this, because I don't want to leave it ambiguous or out there, without any conclusion to this. Based on what I'm hearing, or what I've heard, I think you might want to consider some kind of a motion that says that you're going to put a moratorium on any reclassifications until further notice by the Board of Commissioners, or something to that effect, so that we can put this to bed.
So moved.
All right, moved by Commissioner Gilman, seconded by Commissioner Fleece, that the Board of Commissioners would, as of this date and this board meeting, notify all staff members that we are placing a moratorium on any job classifications until further notice. Reclassifications until further notice. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Gilman,
Yes.
Wheelock,
No.
Fleece,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
No.
Thomas,
No.
Richardson,
No.
Lemkool,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yeah.
Inman.
No.
4-5.
Well, that fails.
I have no further recommendations. You're on your own now. Out of my
Would the commissioner like to make another motion?
Not really a motion, but I would like to have more information on what would be the cost I mean, we've not even looked at a budget on any of this as to what the cost is, the impact of the cost is going to be to us on if we did reclassify, if we're going to have to hire somebody new, how much money is this really going to cost the county taxpayers
To go through the
to implement
process?
this whole process that you're trying to recommend?
Well, until we do the reclassifications, we don't know what it's going to cost.
But
We have to get the request.
But how do I approve something that doesn't have a budget to it? I guess that's my biggest concern. And you know, when to me, that's not using my fiduciary responsibilities to be able to make sure that I approve something that doesn't have a dollar amount with it.
Perhaps I was unfair to you earlier when I asked you to consider that if you approve this tonight, that you make a commitment to implement it, which I have asked boards in the past, and we haven't done it. But I think you understand where I'm coming from in terms of the employees. But to answer your question, Commissioner, I cannot tell you what it's going to, obviously, we can't tell you what it's going to cost until we actually do the reclassification. So it's an unknown. It's truly an unknown.
But
And
we
so-
did that once before, when we approved the 3 days off, and found out that it cost us more money than we anticipated. So all of a sudden, now you're asking us to do the same thing.
I'm sorry, I'm not following what you're...
When we took the personal days, and then all of a sudden, we found out it was more costly than a savings item.
When did we find that
When,
out?
yeah.
What, where, what?
Oh, I remember.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
No, that was
So-
no, it's not
That's
just
for
the
the co-
personal
It
days.
was
You're
a-
saying in relation to
When we
the,
decided to take from 8 to 5 or something like that.
but tied to that was,
Tied
yes,
with
I
that.
understand what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah.
Tied to that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
not just personal days. We knew the cost of that. It was tied to the give back on the health insurance,
Yeah.
not to implement
Yeah.
the 10/20, but
Yeah.
extend the contract.
I just think that, you know, we need to have some sort of a budget to be working with here in order for me to look at, to be able to approve this. And I know it's difficult to put.
Well, it's
a
not
moving
difficult, it's
target.
impossible.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I'm
There's no
sorry, it
possible
is.
way
Yeah.
to evaluate what the wage change is going to be until you evaluate
Yeah.
what
Yeah, I
the
know.
classification of the employees.
But I got to understand you're being
But
uncomfortable with that.
But I'm uncomfortable because you're asking me to make this decision today, and then all of a sudden, you're going to come back in December, and you're going to say, well, now we're going to cost you an extra $100,000 in order to be able to do this, and we're all going to tell you no. And I don't want you to be in that situation. I mean, it's only fair for everybody else.
Well, then, you should have passed the motion to put a moratorium on them, because
Yeah.
that's the only way we bring
I tried
conclusion
to.
to this.
Is there any, I'd ask the board, is there any part of the recommendation that can be amended or changed that would give you a better comfort level? For example, item 2, instead of a 3-year, could be a 5-year implementation process, for example.
Let me just tell you that, I have to tell you, staff, we don't recommend 5 years. We think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
too long.
All right, okay.
So,
Well, I mean, I was just trying to address the
understand.
financial issue that Commissioner
I
Lundquist
just wanted you to know what our position on
All
it
right,
was.
okay. Commissioner Henschel.
I move that this board place a moratorium for 2 years on job reclassifications. At such time, will be revisited.
I'll support that.
All right, moved by Commissioner Henschel, seconded by Commissioner Flees, to notify staff members that there would be a 2-year moratorium on any classification request. Okay. Further discussion? Commissioner Lemko?
I might just add that, I can somewhat support this, except the fact that it troubles me that that's also the end of our union contracts. We're all coming together about 2 years from now, if I remember correctly. Is it 2 years or 3 years?
3.
3 years?
2014.
So this would be like the year before that.
Right.
So is that timely? Is that going to be a challenge with us in negotiating union contracts?
I don't think so, because you can always extend it at that time if you
Okay.
choose.
All right.
I guess I have a question to the administrator and I guess the personnel director. Assuming that we go through a process, and it doesn't have to be by the end of the year, that we end up looking at and reclassifying positions, without the commitment of implementation based on the financial factors, depending on how they come back to us, okay? We would evaluate that at that time. At least we would have the classification part done. I mean, one could argue that why do it if you don't have the financial resources to do it, or make a commitment to do it. But the question I have for, I guess, Dennis and Jen is, I mean, I don't see the, I don't want to personally, if the board feels the way they do right now, and it's kind of somewhat mixed, I'd still would like to see the process move forward in terms of the classification for our positions, because I think it's still important to do. And then you can bring back the ramifications of that to the board, and we can say either yes or no, or we'll spread it over years, or not this year, or whatever. And I don't want to put you in a position where you got to slam this thing through and hire somebody out by the end of the year to get it done either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think my thought is you take it one step at a time, and perhaps the board might consider having staff move forward with the implementation of reclassification, and with the understanding that that whatever impacts there are, it needs to come back to the Board of Commissioners for discussion and any approval, whether denial or moving forward. So, I mean, I throw that out.
My only hesitation with that is if we do a review and then we have some positions that need to be reclassified and we don't reclassify them, we now know they are incorrectly classified. So, and we're not going to do anything. So I guess that would be my hesitation with that, is if we find out people need to be reclassified, in addition to the morale problems that we already have with the Siegel.
So the difference is with Siegel.
Siegel study.
We went through the same thing, but you never adopted the Siegel wage system. You're now saying we're going to reclassify you under our existing system. And if you do that, or we're going to go through the process. If you go through the process and it shows that they're improperly classified, I think we might have an issue with unions grieving it and saying, your own compensation system that is in place, you're not following it. And I think we could have a problem there. So that would be my concern, Commissioner. I know you're trying to find a compromise.
Or you get the person that classifies that their wages will go down, well, we'll lower your wages, but we're not going to increase the others.
Well, I was just trying to address Commissioner Lemko's issue about going forward without this, without knowing the impact, and without even knowing the impact, moving forward. And so what I was saying is, okay, we got to go through this process anyways, and then bring it back, and we can say, hey, listen, either we can afford this, or we can't afford it, or we can implement it over a period of years, or whatever. But at least we've done the due diligence and got it done.
Mr. Chairman, I think we've beat this to death. We've taken 2 votes. It's time to move on.
We have a motion on the floor, I think, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
2 year. All right, you're under discussion.
2 year.
Okay. So the motion, is there any more discussion on the motion? The motion is to do a 2-year moratorium on any job classifications and notify the staff. Commissioner Maxbauer.
I will not be voting for the motion. I will tell you that I had a real tough time as I'm sitting here listening to arguments, because I do believe people should be fairly compensated, fairly classified. And again, if we have to ask for a union wage freeze, whatever we have to do, I think we need to move forward. The reason I voted no primarily is I want to go through the budget process first. I'm not willing to say no. I'm not willing to say, yeah, I'm going to put a 2-year moratorium on this. I want to go through the budget process, which is coming up in September, and September starts tomorrow, and then take another look at this. And that's the primary reason I voted no. And I will be voting no on the moratorium as well. I want to take a good hard look at the budget.
All right. Well, that'll be, maybe if this fails, maybe we can just go back and make that clarification. All right. Motion on the floor for the 2-year moratorium. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wheelock?
No.
Fleece?
Yes.
Maxbauer?
No.
Thomas?
No.
Richardson?
No.
Lemko?
No.
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Inman?
No. Motion fails with 3 yeses. But Commissioner Maxbauer, you want to make a motion to readdress this after the budget process?
No.
Well, that's what you just said.
No, I said I'm willing to.
You're willing to,
Yes.
but you don't want to make that a motion? Anybody
Not
else?
till, not yet.
I'll make a motion that we look at this again after the budget is passed.
Okay. That's a different motion So we don't need a motion to reconsider, is that correct, Mr. Cooney?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have a motion to reconsider the recommendation after we go through the budget process. Is there support? Commissioner Thomas made the motion. Is there support for that motion?
Sure.
Okay, Commissioner Wheelock supports that motion.
Enthusiastic.
Further discussion on the motion? Commissioner Lemko.
Yeah, I'm concerned about making this motion today. I'm wondering what it's going to take us to bring this back after the budget's gone through. You know, if we come back in October and can we make this same motion again, what's the legal, I mean, how do we go about doing that, those of us that would like to bring it back at that time?
Commissioner would have to put it on the agenda.
So we could just ask for it to be on the agenda?
Well, I mean, if you direct us tonight to bring this back after budgets are done.
That's what I'm thinking.
We're going to put it on an agenda and put it back on after
November's
budgets.
agenda.
And that would be on the November board meeting.
Yep, that's what I would put.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Commissioner Gillen.
It just seems like this is kind of a modified version of we've already kind of asked the question of whether or not we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And now we're tabling it as if that vote never happened. That's what this motion essentially is. So I would have to say no to this motion. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Just trying to accommodate Commissioner Max Bauer.
Well, no, it's not my motion. I said I'm willing to.
But it was your thought that inspired me.
Red shirt guy.
Boy, is that scary.
Yeah, okay. Any other comments on the motion before we vote?
No, but I'm not going to vote.
Commissioner Henschel.
It does seem like a motion to reconsider because we said, no, we're not going to do this. Now we just said, now the motion is we're going to do this, but in 2 months.
No, we're going to say it can be brought up, back up as an agenda item after the budget meeting, which it can anyways, because it can only be brought up in November anyways. You know, because that's within the time period of the motion or for a new item to be brought back up, even if it's been voted on.
I guess the other way to look at this is, you know, and we could ask Bob what his thoughts are. I guess the other way to look at this is not approving the motion to do reclassifications is in effect saying a moratorium of sorts that we're just not going to look at any reclassifications.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Bob?
I wish you wouldn't have suggested the current motion because I think it does unduly complicate whether or not you can vote to not reconsider later on or to reconsider. It's a lot simpler if you just simply clear the floor and if someone wants to, if one of the commissioners wants to reconsider this after the budget discussions.
In a couple of months.
Put it on the agenda.
Okay.
I withdraw my
All
motion.
right, second withdrawal? All right, okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, we will move on.
Getting nowhere. Jesus.
Thank you, Jen, for staying.
I feel a lot better, thank you. I do want to just mention one other thing. Budget hearings start next week.
Yes.
You see it on your calendar.
Thanks for the reminder.
We asked commissioners to provide us with a list of departments that they want to meet with. We have to send that agenda out Friday.
Okay.
The only one we've heard from is Commissioner Max Bauer. So really, by tomorrow, I need the list of departments that you want to meet with, that you want to come in to discuss budget, if you would, please. Get them to us by tomorrow so we can put the agenda out and get it noticed.
Which one did she call out?
I'm sorry?
I mean, which one did she indicate?
It would be Parks and Rec, would it?
No, it wasn't.
No, actually, it was neither. She didn't do a specific department. She did some other issues that she wants to talk about.
I mean, just so we don't call the same department.
It doesn't matter. If
Oh,
it's
okay.
called out once, we put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Call it out as many as you want.
I doubt that you will.
You got my list.
There's nothing on it.
All right, so you have
Thank
that.
you. That's
you have
all I
that
have.
information from the administrator. Does that conclude the administrator's
Yes, sir.
report? All right, now we will move on to the items removed from the consent calendar, and we will start with item number 24. Commissioner Max Bauer, you have the floor.
Yes, I don't consider this a deficit elimination plan. I will be voting no.
Hang on for 1 second.
Page 94.
Let's receive and file.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Thomas. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Fleece to approve item number 4, resolution 135, 2011, Septic Facility Fund Deficit Elimination Plan. And is there discussion on the motion? Commissioner Richardson.
I would, I agree with you in principle, but not in specifics. It is a deficit reduction plan. It isn't a reasonable deficit reduction plan. It's sort of a, pie in the sky, if you will, deficit reduction plan by alleging revenues that are not going to happen.
Yes.
But it's,
well, that's the,
I guess it.
I'm glad you agree with me in principle, thank you.
I guess it's, it's the fig leaf that the state's requiring right now, so.
Question, Dennis. I thought the resolution of the deficit reduction was the settlement amount that they, applied against the payment that was overdrawing the general ledger account. So actually, that's just true cash. So it's not pie in the sky.
Let me explain.
Is that correct?
That is correct. The settlement funds are accounted for as revenue. They're revenues that we've received in this fund this year. We have received the full amount of the settlement, and with budgeting that revenue, it does allow us to adopt this resolution as the deficit elimination plan for the year 2011. As you can see in the resolution, we do not end 2011 with a very large fund balance, and we will probably revisit this in 2012.
The important thing to focus in on is, this is not saying that this is not addressing whether the business plan is a pie-in-the-sky business plan or not. It very well may be. But the facts are, the money is there, and the business plan calls to use the revenues that come from any settlement to put into the budget to take care of any deficits, and that's in effect what this does.
That is what this does, and the request that had been received earlier in the month to distribute those funds back to the townships does not violate this deficit elimination plan.
All right, Commissioner Max Bauer.
I just want to reiterate, we are going to talk about the septic treatment facility during budget.
Yes, you asked me to put
Yes,
that
and
on.
I'm just going to double check. Thank you.
All right, good. Any other questions on the motion? Commissioner Henschel.
Just clarification, this on the consent calendar shows up under receive and files. Is this a receive and file, or is this an adoption of a resolution?
Item number 24. What was that again?
It was a receive and file item.
It's under the receive and files. Is this, are we voting to adopt or to receive and file?
Oh, I'm sorry,
you're
you're
right,
correct.
it is a receive.
Item number 24. It should be,
Should be under
action items, Dennis. You're correct. That's exactly right.
It's the iPad.
That's a good catch.
Well-
If I may,
Go ahead.
when we presented this at the committee meeting, the board did adopt the resolution that evening, and I think it was just a matter of practice to have it here, and you've already acted on this. I think it's correct.
Weren't we in a situation where we had to file the deficit plan the next week?
Yes, it was due to the state by a certain date. That's why you took action at the
So we
committee
already
meeting.
took action on it. This is just, it's just filing it.
Yeah,
Or
but
acknowledging
in
that
a
we
sense,
did it.
this is ratifying it, through the board agenda, so.
Bob,
But it should have been an action item, not a receive and file item.
I do recall being asked this question by Chris Kramer.
Okay.
And whenever the board meets as a whole, it can take definitive action. And so that's what was done, my understanding at the time, that the commission members understood.
Was that at the end of the
they were
board?
passing a final resolution.
Was that at the end of the month board meeting?
No.
No.
All right, so it's just, see, our committee of the wholes are just
Please, Nate.
recommendations.
Yes, but you recall, we asked you to vote for this, recognizing that it had to be filed with the
Correct.
state the next week.
Correct.
And you voted in the affirmative
So we need to
go ahead, and
ratify.
we filed it.
We need to ratify, technically, we need to ratify the actions of the committee of the whole.
No, we already ratified.
I don't think it's
Not this
necessary.
Bob's saying no.
Can the committee of the whole take? Yes, they can. All right.
So it's a receive.
So we can
It's a receive.
receive and
Understand
file.
they're taking final action on it.
All right, okay. We'll go with the attorney's opinion on that. We don't, so we need to, we'll just withdraw the motion and support.
Motion to receive and file.
Support.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whatever.
You didn't make
I didn't make one, I just,
That was by Commissioner Thomas. and
who's on
Commissioner
first,
Fleece.
you know?
Yeah. Commissioner Thomas, you want to withdraw that motion? Huh?
I'll call a question.
We could just go ahead and pass it. Again?
Certainly.
Sure. All right.
Should
We
have
have a
done
motion
that
on the
20
flo-
minutes ago.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Thomas, second
No.
by Commissioner Fleece to
How,
approve it.
how can we pass something that we already passed?
Well, this is just a ratification of that motion. That's how it can be considered. All right, we have a motion on the
They all
floor
favored.
by Commissioner Thomas, second by Fleece, to approve this action in this resolution. Commissioner Henschel.
Does this motion do anything at all? Do we still need to receive and file it after this motion?
No?
No, not if you,
No?
I'm going to leave that to Bob.
I don't
You
think
pulled it
so.
off the consent calendar. That means you got to do something with it. All right, I'll change my motion to receive and file.
All right. Does Fleece?
I'll agree.
All right. We have an amended motion by Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Fleece, to receive and file item number 24. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Fleece,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
No.
Thomas,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Lemkool,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Inman.
Yes. Motion passes. You did call Max Bauer, right? Okay.
One name.
All right. Moving on to item number 31. Commissioner Gilman, you have the floor.
All right, I pulled this off. I mean, obviously, I disagree with the climate change agenda, and I was actually quite surprised, given the other folks in this room that disagree with the climate change agenda, how they voted for this. The Planning Commission had recommended pretty much a stripped-down version, and which addressed the functional attributes of the plan, which was to save energy and save the county money. The additional information serves more as an affirmation of of an agenda that is not necessarily homegrown. And I'd like to point out that the plan itself was helped, its conception was helped by what is called the ICLEI, which was an organization that Grand Traverse County subscribed to for a number of years, and I think last year we dropped a subscription because of the cost. But the ICLEI stands for the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. And what it was developed to do was to get local governments to sign on to these climate change plans to legitimize the efforts by climate alarmists and those people who have as a part of their agenda the climate change propaganda. For those people who don't believe in the global warming issue, on page 4 there's a claim that you might want to look at. I don't know if you have, but ask yourself, do you support that claim? And I suppose I should probably go to it real quick because for those people watching, the claim that greenhouse gases pose longer-term, more global risks, and that the current and growing rate of emission of these gases to the atmosphere threatens to disturb the balance of the Earth's natural greenhouse effect. Is that a fact? There's many scientists that say no as do yes. I have a question. Who brought the grant to the board in 2008? Was it Seeds themselves that brought it? Who initiated the climate plan?
I initiated it with the county board as a result of a discussion with the city, who had put a proposal forth to do this and asked if we wanted to join them in it, and since we own joint buildings and things, so I brought it to the board.
Who was the initial, who said, hey, we'd like to do this for the county? Was it Seeds?
No. It was the city manager who said it to me.
So the city manager basically commissioned this on his own.
The city manager, I can't remember who he worked with, but I remember that the city manager came to me and said, listen, we're going to do this, and we'd like the county to join us in this since we have joint facilities and so on.
Okay, because it's interesting, because the city manager actually said in the plan, they haven't quoted, if we're going to sign this agreement, I want to do it right, otherwise I'd just as soon not sign it. In other words, it doesn't sound like he was all aboard on this thing, and I'm trying to determine who brought it to us
I think you
originally.
misinterpreted his comments. I think when he said that, what he was saying was, I want to be in this all the way, I want a full commitment on your part, and I want to make sure that we're going to try to reduce energy use. I mean, we had many discussions about that. This was Richard Lewis, he was very solidly behind this.
All right, the other, there's another part of it, at Table 1, where, I understand from a fiduciary standpoint why we want to save energy in the county. And this is part of the subtext here, is that a lot of this is described in cost per greenhouse gas emissions. I mean, it's not a cost in dollars so much. It is, the cost in dollars is here, but the end result is cost per ton of greenhouse gases emitted. So what? I mean, ultimately, for us, the bottom line is going to be the financial end of it, unless you buy into it. Now, if you don't buy into it, I don't understand the support by the commissioners who did vote for it if they don't buy into the greenhouse gas story. And as far as the Kyoto Protocol, which is something that has not been ratified because it doesn't make sense for this country, and there are other countries in the world who do not plan on supporting it. Do you support it? Because if you don't support it, you have no business voting yes for this. This is in support of that. And the other question I have is in the President's State of the Union address, he said we'd like to get to, this is our goal of getting to 80% clean energy by 2035. Okay? It's in here. Do you support that? Do you think that's even reasonable? Do you think that's a reasonable goal? I sure don't. I don't think it's even possible. Okay, we've all seen that a small percentage of the it's very small. Renewable sources are very small, and frankly, locally, we're taking them away. Okay, Ann Arbor is used as an example of a fine community who has used this particular program, and they tout the success of Ann Arbor. Guess what? Ann Arbor's broke. And they're laying off firemen, and they're laying off police, and they've got a few bucks left in their art fund because they went along with something like this where they have to dedicate a certain amount of money towards that end. Now, I disagree with it, and I just wanted to pull it off and just to get that up there.
Right. Commissioner Max Bauer, and then Commissioner Henschel, and then Commissioner Richardson.
I'll wait for a motion.
Okay. Then we have Commissioner Henschel.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that regardless of the acceptance of a climate action or energy action plan, that this board acknowledge and affirm that the facts surrounding climate change are subject to debate, and that any acceptance of a plan to monitor and reduce emissions is for the purpose of monitoring energy efficiency.
I'll second that.
Sure, I'll try to give you again.
So
regardless of
does your motion approve the climate plan?
No, it's a.
Are you approving
No, I didn't say
the climate
that.
action plan?
Regardless of any acceptance of a climate action or energy action plan, this board affirms and acknowledges that the facts surrounding climate change are subject to debate.
Okay, that has nothing to do with the item that's pulled off the calendar.
It's everything to do with it.
It's You're just making a statement. You're just making a statement on climate change. The issue is the climate plan that's been submitted and been approved by the committee, either you vote no on it or yes on it. You want to make a motion just to make a political statement about
This
climate-
plan is a
climate
political
action plan.
statement. Both plans are a political statement.
Okay, Commissioner Henschel, are you making a motion to approve the plan as presented or not to approve the plan as presented?
I believe his motion speaks for itself, Mr. Chairman. He does have the ability to make the motion even outside of committee. This may not be a committee of the whole, but it is relevant to the motion that would be forthcoming. So there's going to be two motions. There's the one that he just made, which basically says that the board is going to decide whether or not it's going to make a political statement or not.
Okay.
And then the second motion will be to pass or not pass the climate change plan.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so you want to make a political statement at this point?
Now, actually, I'm taking the political statement out of the plan and saying, we're just looking at efficiency.
Looking at efficiency.
All right, so with that statement, you want the plan approved without the climate change, the climate
That's not what,
language?
no.
He doesn't even want to take a vote on the plan at this
No,
point.
I'm just asking the board to affirm and acknowledge that the facts surrounding climate change are subject to debate. The debate is not over. They change all the time. I mean, I did some research and looked back 30 years ago, boy, the world was going to freeze and then it was going to burn. Okay, they change. I'm just acknowledging that they're subject to
All
debate.
right, so it has nothing to do with the item on the consent calendar, approving or denying the item on the consent calendar. That's all I want to know.
Correct.
Correct, okay, it does not. Okay, we have a motion on the floor, which is a statement by Commissioner Henschel that we neither confirm or deny.
We're just affirming that the facts surrounding climate change are subject to debate.
Okay, all right. Anybody, everybody, is there a second?
I did.
All right, Commissioner Gilman. Is there discussion on the motion? Commissioner Wheelock?
Well, I have been publicly opposed to the idea of the whole greenhouse gases, global warming situation, and Record Eagle had a great time with it a few years ago, but, through the whole discussion of this plan and the other items in regard to this plan and our energy consumptions, I have repeatedly said, and I said in committee, the only green that I'm discussing here is the money that we're saving by our energy efficiency. I suppose I'll support the motion that Rob's made here tonight because there's no question in my mind that the global warming greenhouse gas thing is subject to debate. Whether this is the place for that motion or not, I have no idea, but the fact is, the climate action plan is before us, which will be the second motion. While it does address greenhouse gases and everything else, more importantly, the way I read it, it tells us how much money we save. And I don't give a rat's tail about how many greenhouse gases that they figure we're going to save, but I absolutely care about how many dollars we're saving. And the plan does identify ways for us to save the taxpayers' money in this community, and that is important to me, and therefore that portion of the plan is good. All of the extra supplementary information, I don't care if it's in there or not. The fact is, the only piece of the plan that's important to me is the fact that it identifies ways that I can save the taxpayers' money and save energy costs for this community.
Hang on, is there any other commissioners want to make a remark on the motion? Commissioner Richardson?
Just please call for a roll call vote.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, just comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Just kind of, a couple of commissioners kind of look a little confused about why I would make a motion like this, and I guess, I don't know if you ever do, but I go back and look at old board minutes, and I guess looking back at this plan and looking at the board, it would, short of the motion I made, it would look like we're making a political statement in support of we're all burning up and the world is freezing, whichever year you pick. And so I just want to take the politics out of it and say we're saving taxpayers' dollars, just like Commissioner Wheelock said. Completely agree with that.
All right. Commissioner Thomas?
Read the motion back.
Oh, look at poor Bonnie.
You don't have to read the
The
whole.
gist of it, I'm going to listen on to the tape, is affirm and acknowledge that facts to climate change are subject to debate.
Okay.
And
Okay, so
Had
we're
a
not,
lot in front of that.
this is not approving the plan.
no.
No. All right.
That comes next.
Any other
Oh.
comments or questions? All right, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Max Bauer,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Richardson,
I abstain. I refuse to vote on this ridiculous motion.
Lemkool,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Fleece,
Yes.
Inman.
Yes.
Point of order, is that okay to abstain?
I don't think you can make me vote, Rob.
I think you have a legal obligation.
I don't think you can make me vote, Rob.
It's up to him.
If you'd like, I'll get up and leave the room, but I'm not going to vote. I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the climate action plan.
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Lemkool, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock, or Richardson, to approve the climate action plan as presented in item 31. Discussion. Commissioner Henschel.
Question for our attorney. Do I have the right to abstain from this?
You would have to have some conflict in order to abstain, so
Or leave the room.
I don't know what that would be.
Does any commissioner have a right to abstain from any motion for no apparent reason?
You know, I can't make a commissioner vote, I guess.
Well, I'm not asking you to call in the constable,
I
but
think technically
Technically,
there has to be a conflict.
or the commissioner has to
Some-
declare a problem with objectivity.
Or the
For some
commissioner
reason.
gets up and leaves the room.
Or the commissioner gets up and leaves the room.
But then it would be a yes vote if the commissioner simply doesn't say anything.
Correct. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve item number 31. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Max Bauer.
I will be voting for this. I do agree, whether there's global warming or not, I have no idea. I've heard debate on both sides, but I will be supporting this plan. I think that by approving this plan, we increase our opportunity for grants. And grants will save us money and make us energy efficient. So I will be supporting the plan.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Gilman.
Just one thought on the grants, and thinking about the $180,000 that was spent at the Civic Center pool, and how much we've saved there. I'm not sure. Are we up to $200 in savings yet on that? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
That'll come over time. Commissioner Wheelock and then Commissioner Henschel.
Again, I reiterate the fact that the plan does identify specific ways that we can save energy costs for this community. And that's the reason that I support the plan.
Okay, Commissioner Henschel.
Mr. Aloya, have we found any specific grants adopting this plan would qualify us for?
I know it will qualify for continuing grants. I can't tell you what they are. My discussion with John Syke is that this will continue us in the loop to get more energy efficiency grants. And I'll point out to the board that since we started this process 3 years ago, we've gotten $685,000 in energy grants into the community that we've used to redo lights, motors, things like that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the motion?
Just a quick statement that I won't be supporting the approval of this plan. I do agree with the energy savings aspects. However, I feel much of it was poorly written. Some of the sources they gave were questionable, and as written, I can't approve that or the energy plan for that.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, my particular comment is, yeah, I mean, I agree with the original motion. You know, it's debatable, and you can go on one side or the other and make an argument on the other, but, you know, the bottom line is, you know, whether you believe in global warming or not, you know, we should be energy efficient. We should be spending less cost on energy, which in our community is coal related. So the less coal we're throwing in the burner, the less stuff that's going up in the air, the less stuff we have to breathe, and the less stuff that, you know, affects our environment, not only for today, but for the future of the human race. And I think that, you know, whether it affects climate or not, why in the world do we want to dump that stuff in our air in the first place? So the less we can put in the air, the better off we are, if we can do it and if we have the technology to do it. And it gives us the strongest basis to get EPA grants that have continued to fuel all these cost savings that have been going on in the county, whether you agree with it or not. So I'll be supporting the motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we do have a motion on the floor to approve the climate action plan. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Lemko?
Yes.
Henschel?
No.
Gilman?
No.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Fleece?
No.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes with 3 nays.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the energy action plan.
Support.
Hang on for a second. Commissioner Henschel pulled that line on
I'm
item
sorry.
number 32. Commissioner Henschel pulled
Okay.
that, so he has the floor before the motion can come out.
They yield the floor.
Yeah. You yield the floor? Okay.
I make
Mr.
a
Lemko, you make a motion to approve that item? All right, is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, second by Commissioner Wheelock to approve item number 32, energy action plan. Is there discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Same discussion.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Richardson?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
No.
Lemko?
Yes.
Henschel?
No.
Gilman?
No.
Fleece?
No.
Inman?
Yes.
Pass.
Motion passes 5-4. All right, moving on, and we already did item number 33. That's correct. And we have item number 40, agent of record, and I will call upon Vice Chairman Commissioner Larry Fleece to chair this particular item on behalf of the board.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is number 40, which was pulled by Commissioner Gilman.
I've had some communications that I think you'll all, if you haven't already received them, you will receive. And what I'd like to do is, it was in regards to whether it was from Terry Root, the owner of the Great Northern Benefits. And it was in regards to a potential conflict of interest that our administrator had while the decision-making was going on. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to have our administrator just explain a little bit about that, and then we can move on and get this decided quickly.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. If I understand correctly, I received this at 4:30 today, but actually, there's not, nowhere in the letter is the word conflict of interest used, but basically, there's an insinuation here that because I sit on the Priority Health Board of Directors, or sat on the Priority Health Board of Directors, that I was upset with the decision that the agent made in recommending Blue Cross Blue Shield last year, and as a result of that, I have steered the process of selecting an agent of record away from the agency. Is that a fair?
I think that's a fair assessment of what is.
And so, I certainly want you to know that, first of all, I no longer sit on Priority Board of Health, that I resigned from that of my own will, but at each time that there was a vote on insurance that came before the county board, I have noted to the board, some of you will recall, that I was sat on the Priority Health Board. I also noted to you that I was not making the recommendation. Those recommendations came from HR Director and the Finance Director. And I also have ran this by Al Schneider 2 years ago, and Al indicated that there is no conflict as a result of the process that we have set up, and that was perfectly fine. So I understand I understand his concern. This is a big book of business that he's affected by, and I understand how important it is to him, but I guess I refute the comments made. A couple of other things that he stated that I think are important in this letter. One thing that he says is that when he bid the insurance for us last year and saved the county $500,000, which is absolutely true, they did a good job with that. He says that BCN wanted to gain market share and show the community that they're a competitive player. Frankly, they bought the business, which I agree with. He said, but I did hold them to a verbal agreement for a modest increase in the second year that no one knows about. And I'm not going to say much more other than this is our agent, this is our advisor, and he had made some kind of an agreement with the insurance company for a second year and didn't notify you or me or staff that that had taken place. This is one of the reasons that I think it's important that we change agents.
Dean?
I'd like to comment too. I saw the email shortly after 4:30, and there's a reference in there that I left the room because I was not in agreement with our recommendation. That is absolutely not true. I am 100% behind what we recommended at Ways and Means, and my position has not changed on that.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to also add that he infers that because I was upset with him and their agency, that I influenced Jen Seaman, our HR director, and Dean Bott, our finance director, into taking the position they took. I want it to be clear to you, as I think I've made many times in the past, that I have full respect for my departments and that I always give them discretion to make their own recommendations, whether they agree with me or not, and that I, in fact, insist upon them using their expertise to make their decision. And I think they will both tell you that I did nothing in any way to influence them. These are decisions they arrived at of their own volition.
I'll say the same thing. I'm in 100% in agreement with this recommendation.
It's too bad that he is not here right now to at least maybe perhaps clarify some of what he is saying. My original concern with this entire, with the change, of course, is the fact that we're losing, potentially losing a business out of the Grand Traverse County, a business that employs a couple of families, and you know, there are a few interests. Having said that, I'm going to support the change at this time.
Chris?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that Grand Traverse County enter into a 3-year agreement with CIC as the agent of record for Grand Traverse County as presented in their proposal.
Support.
And, want me to finish?
Go ahead, finish.
And that said agreement include a statement which allows for a 30-day cancellation notice for any reason by Grand Traverse County.
You're still supporting that?
Oh, sure.
Rob?
It still strikes me that this is a 3-year agreement. When we talked about doing a 3-year agreement with our last company, and we said, no, we wanted to keep it competitive. Why not do a 1-year agreement now?
No, I thought I explained that at the last meeting, but I'll try to do a better job now. Last time we bid the full contract, we bid a 3-year agreement. This last year, we had determined, and the board had directed us to go out and bid the agent of record. And because of that, and the timing of hiring the new director, we could not accomplish that by the time the bids came in. And so the decision was made, we will do a 1-year agreement so that we can meet the board's directive of going out and bidding an agent of record. And that's the reason that we did it. It was at the board's direction.
Sonny?
You know, this is difficult. You know, we've got a long-standing partnership with Great Northern Benefits. I know those people well, both through the county and through my own business. And I know them personally. And, you know, this is difficult, but at the same time, this is not the last difficult decision we're going to be called upon to make in the next few months. This comes down to a financial decision for me. And based on the financial information that I've been provided, this will save the community money.
Chris?
Well, I wanted to point out, Commissioner Henschel, when we were talking about the MSU extension agreement, you pointed out that we were actually signing a 90-day contract. This is, in effect, if that same principle
Yes, thank
follows,
you for
a
adding that up.
30-day.
I'll now support it, okay?
A 30-day contract. And, you know, the estimates are right now that we, for the Grand Traverse County taxpayers, have a potential savings of $600,000 to $1 million a year, and I can't ignore that. I will be supporting this. Well, I made the motion.
And based on that, I am looking for results from CIC.
I'd like to share a few comments. What Dennis was talking about, when I came on the board, I'd been on about 9 months, and somebody asked me one day, a citizen, if I knew who the agent of record was. And I said, no. And they said, well, one of the owners is the county road commissioner, which really surprised me. And anyway, later on, I asked Dennis how long we'd been with this firm, and it was a long time. And what Dennis stated earlier is exactly correct. We were pretty firm with him. We want this bid, period. I mean, and don't get me wrong, they did a fine job, like Commissioner Wheelock said, and I know them both too. It's a difficult decision, but 23 years is a long time. And I think Cadillac, he stated pretty clearly at the earlier meeting, Ways and Means, that if he couldn't perform, we could fire him. And I just hope you understood that we indeed would fire you if you didn't. So I will be supporting the motion to move, and Great Northern absolutely has done the county an excellent job over the years. And furthermore, talking with the road commissioner at the time, there was no doubt in my mind that there was any monkey business, so. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Thomas?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Yes.
Inman? Wheelock?
Yes.
Please.
Yes. Motion passes. And I'll turn the meeting back over to Chairman Inman.
Thank you, Commissioner
He's
Fleece, for
resumed
an
his
excellent job. All right. That concludes the items on the consent calendar. We now move on to unfinished business. There is none. Under new business, we have no items. We come to second public comment. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this time?
Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, we'll close public comment, and we will move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Max Bauer.
A couple of things. The Parks Commission has voted to allow the Nature Education Reserve to serve alcohol under limited circumstances. The alcohol serving at the Nature Education Reserve will not be coming forward to individual events, will not be coming forward to the Parks Commission anymore. So if you hear about something, you know, an event being held out there and you find out alcohol is being served, please don't blame me for not being able to tell you, because but I will tell you that the limited circumstances, our staff has to be present, and
They are going to ensure.
Yes, they are absolutely. They said that the county is listed as an additional insured, and they are not going to sell it. They're only going to serve it. So, okay. And also, the Parks Board has voted to allow deer hunting on Power Island, and that is not going to be coming forward anymore to the Parks Board as well. That's going to be handled by the director. The other thing I want to let everybody know is about a meeting I had with Mr. Cooney. And I'm sure he will jump in here if he thinks he needs to. Please do if you think you need to. Went out to Twin Lakes after that tragic drowning. And when my husband and I were leaving Twin Lakes, there was like a sawhorse stand that was up there, and it said, the public is not permitted on the property. And so I asked the Parks Director during a Parks meeting, why we do that. And he said it's state law. So after the meeting, I emailed him and I said, can I see the state law? And he emailed me the state law and I read it. And it wasn't in there. At least I couldn't find it. So I asked for a meeting with Mr. Cooney and asked him to read the law. And was it in there? Do we have to close the park when we have these campers? And that's really what was going on. They have day camps and they have overnight camps. And traditionally, the director just closes the property, the park property, whenever they have these campers present. And it's not in there. It's not required. One of the things that did come up in my meeting with Mr. Cooney was, I said, well, there are some requirements in this state law that we're not doing. And I pointed it specifically to the aquatics section. And he said, well, if we're aware that we're not doing it, we have to do it. So I'm just calling this to the attention of the county administrator, that if we have camps in the future, we need to take a look at this state law and make sure that our obligations are being met. And I will tell you that I'm going to bring up to the Parks Commission the subject of whether or not we should continue closing the park when we have camps at Twin Lakes. When you stop and think about it, in 2010, we had $39,000 worth of revenue out at Twin Lakes for the whole year. $30,000 of that comes over 5 months, and a great deal of it comes from these camps. Well, we have a day camp that's operated at the Civic Center. Can you imagine the outcry if we closed the Civic Center because we had day campers there? But yet, that's what we do at Twin Lakes. I think the park needs to be open to the public. I'm going to bring this up at a Parks Commission meeting, at our next regular Parks Commission meeting, but I just wanted to let everyone know about my meeting with Mr. Cooney. And I would like to also thank Commissioner Leapsight, who sat in on the meeting with me. I appreciated his time.
Okay, thank you for that update. Anyone else? Commissioner Henschel.
Just an update on Northern Lakes Committee Mental Health. We had our ad hoc committee meeting to discuss the funding parity between the 6 counties that give funding that's used to match, and we did the really effective thing of planning another meeting. So we asked staff for some facts and figures on the quote baggage each county brought when we formed the authority. Another issue came to my attention in talking with Dennis and with our jail administrator, and that's the fact that the founding document that formed Northern Lakes Community Mental Health that our county signed and the 5 other counties signed says that they will provide mental health services in our jail at no charge. And however, we hire an outside agency because Northern Lakes doesn't provide enough services. We hire a psychiatrist, and we pay for all the psychotropic drugs that are mental health related. From what I can estimate, I only pulled a few months' records on the drugs, but it seems to be between $30,000 and $40,000 that we're paying above what we're already paying Northern Lakes. So
the psychiatrist is
20,000, yeah, and then between 10 and 20,000 for the drugs. So I'm in a fact-finding mode. I'm trying to figure out where did we deviate from this contract to where they're no longer supplying the contracted terms of
You
the
also-
services.
You also have an Attorney General's opinion that says that the community mental health agencies are not responsible to provide
Unless
psychiatric
contracted
care
to do so.
Unless contracted and paid for by the county.
And the contract that we have expires, Commissioner Henschel told me today, in October.
Wow.
The one-year
Well,
agreement
that's the
with
jail
them.
services
The jail
agreement.
services.
Oh, that's the jail services agreement.
Right.
Right, but the contract that formed Northern Lakes is ongoing, it doesn't expire.
Right.
But the fact is, we have a contract with them, at least from what I read, and I'm still fact-finding, and I could be wrong somewhere, but what it looks like, somewhere along the line, they quit providing the services to the point where we had to go buy them somewhere else. And they seem to be out of alignment with that contract. So I do have a pending appointment, I don't have a date set, but I'm going to sit down with Greg, the CEO of Northern Lakes, and just see if there's more to this that I'm not seeing, but from the documents I've read, we're getting the short end of the stick in more than one way here.
Okay, all right, thank you for the report. I think Commissioner Gilman had his hand up, and then
I was just going to ask for can we have Mr. Cooney look into this and give us an opinion where we're standing on that?
Sure.
I'll send you everything I got, Bob.
We have to request him to be able to do that, and I'm just
He can
asking
review the contract.
if that would be possible for the rest of the commissioners, if we would
That's
be
fine.
willing to have him do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right.
I'd like to,
Commissioner Gilman.
I'd like to first acknowledge Commissioner Henschel's work on that, and it has potential. A couple things. First, I went to the Acme, one of the Acme Planning Commission meetings at the theater. About 250 people there. I remember one commenter asking people, who here has jobs? 250 people in the room, 4 hands go up. Yeah, well, I will tell you, it looks like about 90% support for the Myers plan out there. And they did turn down, just since I was there, I took notes, they did turn down the owner of the the local McDonald's, they turned down that, Steck, his commercial district plan, which, probably makes sense based on their master plan. The only other thing I'd like to talk about and remind everybody is that on the 18th, Sunday, and I know that we have the MAC conference starting then too, but for folks who are paying attention and watching right now, City Opera House, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., Constitution celebration, celebrating the signing of the Constitution, which happened 1787 on September 17th. We just couldn't get it that day. So 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., there are games. We're going to be announcing the winners of the the Constitutional Essay Contest. We had 9 contestants for what we call Patriot Idol, and we're going to have the finalists there. And I'm going to tell you, they're good singing. They're good. They sing patriotic songs and songs that we all like to hear. There's also some different activities, several different activities throughout, and something for everybody, something for every age. And I just wanted to, again, let everybody know the organizers have worked very hard to make it happen, and hope to see as many there as possible.
Jason, what were the hours on the 18th again?
2 to 7 p.m.
And that's at
At the City Opera House. Free admission, by the way. Doesn't cost a thing to get in. If you want to eat, well, there's going to be somebody there. Happy Hog is providing food, and we have a silent auction and other ways, of course, to raise money for the next year's affair. So.
Okay. Commissioner Lomco.
Just to remind everybody that on the 8th of September is the Day of Caring, which is a great project throughout the community to bringing volunteers in to do projects for different nonprofits throughout the community. They're still looking for additional volunteers and also some additional projects that might be available out there to work on. So.
All right, thank you. Anyone else before I speak? Commissioner Thomas.
Yeah, September 14th is going to be the next public hearing over that disposal well out in Mayfield Township.
Oh, interesting.
And what time is it, Dean?
An informational session starts at 6 p.m. and the actual formal hearing starts at 7 p.m. and it's at the school in Hannah, the gymnasium.
But the problem is none of us can be there.
Right.
Because we've got a conflict. But we're Dean and John and a few others are working on another resolution that's a little stronger, that we would like to have approved on the 7th, contingent on the end of the month, so we can have that in before that meeting. Because I think it's important to,
All right.
to those people that live out
Commissioner
there.
Fleece and then Commissioner Henschel.
I would concur with what Commissioner Thomas is saying, and I think that we need to have one commissioner out there at least, and that's my bailiwick. And they're very concerned, and I think we need to do exactly what Dick said, but I think we need representation out there, because I've never seen such a circus as that first one was. And I believe Commissioner Maxbauer,
I did go.
Commissioner Thomas, and who else was there? Dennis Aloya was there. And let me tell you, I've attended a lot of public meetings in my life and public hearings, and I've never seen anything like that.
Okay. Commissioner Henschel.
It wasn't in the positive column either.
You're right.
Maybe I should go too. It might be my bailiwick someday.
Well, yeah, next year.
Okay, Commissioner Henschel.
Thank you. Just a reminder, September 11th, down at the Open Space, Grand Traverse Metro, will be hosting a service in honor of the 9/11. I understand there's going to be some music and a ceremony, and I know my church, East Bay Calvary, is taking the whole church on down there on Sunday morning, so should be a lot of people.
What time is that?
8:30.
8:30? Anyone else before I go? Two items. One is you have on your desk the county administrator's quarterly report on the goals and objectives that we set as a board, and we basically asked Dennis to assist us on. And he gives that to us on a quarterly basis. It's his way of letting you know the progress and what's going on and all the various items that we had set at the beginning of the year. He's done this, I think, just about every year that we've had him here. And it's a good communication piece from the administrator to the Board of Commissioners on his work ethics and his accomplishments and his goals and how he's tracking things. And it's also used as a tool for us to give an evaluation on Dennis on his year-end evaluation. And, you know, sometimes I'll just share, you know, some of his thoughts is that, if I can speak freely, that, you know, sometimes it's hard to get a grip on how we actually feel about his performance throughout the year because, you know, we all have busy schedules, and sometimes we come in to meet with him and we talk about issues that we're facing and his input, and we ask him to go out and do stuff and research stuff and get stuff back to us and all those kinds of things. But I would encourage you, if you have any questions or comments or any issues regarding the administrator's performance as we go forward throughout the rest of the year, I'm sure he would enjoy sitting down and going over that with you. And again, this is just one piece that Dennis and I feel, and our vice chairman feel, that this is important for us to receive the information. So, you know, we are in a position to, you know, present, you know, a fair and honest evaluation at the end of the year. So, and again, so I invite any county commissioner, if they have any comments or questions on this report or his performance so far this year, please make an appointment with Dennis, and I'm sure he would enjoy a meeting with you and discussing it. Anything else on that, Dennis? No. Okay. Second item is we have a calendar. I'm not sure if that's under notices and announcements or anything, but we do have a calendar at the back of your agenda. So if you want to pull that out just for information purposes before you leave, and for those that get scanned, if they're not scanned into your deal, then I'll have Chris scan them into your deal tomorrow. And notice, and under now we will. Is any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Lemko.
At the IT meeting for the dams, They had a great presentation on that, and the only thing I'd ask is if they would do a synopsis for all of us so that we might be able to understand kind of an overview of what it is, so it wasn't a 2-hour presentation to us. If we could bring it down to a couple of paragraphs or something, if we can ask the IT team to be able to give us that so that when we go out to our different prospective townships, that we can speak kind of knowledgeably about what's really happening there. So if we could, it would just be helpful if we had that, funnel it down into a synopsis if we could, Dennis, if that would, I would really appreciate that. The other thing is that Conservation District is moving its meeting from the 12th to the 26th, and the Conservation District celebration is on the 15th, which is what Chris was alluding to, so inviting everybody to come out and celebrate the Conservation District out there, and basically the kickoff of the Swing Shift with the Stars. That's a fundraiser for the Conservation District, and we're really excited that we have been selected. So we're looking forward to people that would like to make donations to the Conservation District through the Swing Shift with the Stars. So, and the other thing I'd like to say is I will not be here from the 10th through the 17th. Okay.
Wait a minute. Can we get along without you?
Okay. Commissioner Fleece.
On September 10th is Blair's Fun Days. For the viewing public, we have 3 or 4 commissioners at least that will be in the dunk tank. So if you want to get even with a commissioner, head out to Blair's Park. I believe it's 10 to 6 on Saturday, September 10th. But it's a lot of fun for everybody involved. And 3 of us were in the dunk tank last year. And I see we had some fresh volunteers this year, which is a good thing.
Well, I had to beg out of it because my wife has scheduled a time for me to be gone with her.
And then also, on the 23rd, I'm leaving Michigan.
Again?
And I'm headed to Ohio, and then on the 26th, I'm headed on to Pennsylvania, and I should be home like October 10th or 11th.
Wow.
Good for you.
Okay, good for you.
But it's all
that's
work.
sweet.
Not really.
Mother?
Some of it's work, but no, mother's staying home.
Ooh.
All right. Any other commissioner comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to notices and announcements. You see them on the budget hearings, September 7th at 3 p.m., September 8th at 6 p.m., and if needed, September 21st at 3 p.m., and if needed, September 22nd at 2 p.m. And then the Child Advocacy Center, they have the Circle of Friend Luncheon, noon.
Is that the 15th?
Yes.
Yeah, they don't have a date on there.
There's no date. I think it's the 15th.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the 15th. Thank you. And then we have the MAC conference, September 18th and the 20th at the Grand Traverse Resort. Any other notices and announcements? Hearing none. Dennis, do we need a closed session or not? No. Okay.
How many members are attending the MAC conference?
I believe there was 5 that Katie had last
5
told
of
me.
us?
Yeah. And that was like at least 7 days ago.
Yep, and just if I could mention, I'm going to be on a panel at the MAC conference to talk about intergovernmental collaboration.
Cool.
And I was just kind of looking for the time. I think it's at 1 p.m. on Monday, but I'll get it to you. It would be great to have a couple of county commissioners there to talk with the other county commissioners.
I thought that was a
about-
time that we could just not be there because you're.
That's up to you. But I think they would appreciate hearing from some county commissioners who are involved with some of these collaborations to kind of talk about them. So I'm going to get you the time, and if any of you can make it, it'd be great to have you there.
Okay. Well, thank you for volunteering. If anything else, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Wheelock.
Support.
Seconded by
What do we do
Commissioner
that
Max
for?
Bauer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Both passes. We stand adjourned.
Only took 20 minutes after we got through the consent calendar.
Yeah.
I saved that, and I think
All right, I got my notes to follow up on Rob's stuff here tomorrow. Your loyal servant.
That was, Beth had asked for that.
Loyal servant.